Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to discuss about chapter 1 of the Introduction to Cybersecurity course. Chapter 1 covers the need for cybersecurity. So let's get going. In this chapter 1, the name itself suggests the need for cybersecurity. We are going to discuss about why bother about cybersecurity, actually what is cybersecurity, what is the information that we keep talking about, what is the importance of keeping or safeguarding that particular information, what are the different categories of the cyber criminals and cyber warfare. So here, very first, let us talk about what is your personal data. What is this personal data? The first thing is, what is cyber security? First, in order to understand about the data, we need to talk about cybersecurity. Let me make very much clear to each and every one of you. Cybersecurity is not just one protocol or one algorithm or one technology. It is a collection of all these together. We also can put it in simpler terms, saying that it's a continuous effort. It's an ongoing effort to protect the network systems and all the data from unauthorized use or harm. You can also say it like protection of your networks, so services, your information from unwanted third party disclosures. All these things comes under cybersecurity. It's not just one thing, it's a continuous effort. It is a collection of all technologies, practices, algorithms, all of them put together. Now, when we define cybersecurity, there are different levels to it. Levels, in the sense that I'm talking about, is on a personal level, you need to safeguard your identity, your data, and your devices. When it's a level higher, when you talk about the corporate level, that means wherever organization you're working in, it is your responsibility once again to protect your organization's reputation, data, and any other customer data that you might have or that you might be processing with. Even a level higher, where we talk about the state level, where you always come across the term national security. It's the highest that I personally feel. So we have to safeguard the national security and each and safety and security of all the citizens, which is at stake. That is what cybersecurity is. It is an effort. It is a collection of all of these things put together in order to safeguard the information. Now, let's talk about on a personal level first. You have two types of identity. One of it, we call it as an online identity, and the other one is an offline identity. So you ask me, what is the difference? Offline identity is the one which is actually seen by everybody. When you go out, when you talk with others, when you interact with friends, when you party or when you study, well, it doesn't matter. So each and everybody knows you, they can identify you, they know what you look like, what your interests are, where you stay. All of it is offline identity. Your online identity means how you present yourself to others online. You might pose as a completely different person, you might have a different persona completely, but your online identity should always be in such a way that it reveals very limited information about you. You should not disclose a lot of personal information about you. So usually there are two types of identities. Offline identity is just with your friends, school, work, office, family. Online identity is you can actually interact with the entire rest of the world. So your online identity should be safeguarded. A lot of information should not be posted online. We'll discuss more about these things. Now we keep on saying your data, your information is to be safeguarded. What is information? You might ask me, what is the information? What do I have? Everything related to you is your data. Everything in the way your education information, your medical information, your personal information, your family information, your employment information, even your financial information, all those things, your social identity number, maybe PAN card, Aadhaar card number, each and everything, your banking information, each and every one of those data can be put together and we call them as your data, your personal data. None of this should be shared. So you can ask me, no, I don't keep them in one place. I have all of them safeguarded. There, where we usually are not taking into consideration the fact that where is this data being resided right now? Where is this data? Take your mobile phone. all your logins are there. We do online banking. We do have all the Facebook apps or Twitter apps. Everything is there on your mobile phone, even your email. And we store a lot of information on the mobile phone, including your pics, including the documents, everything on the mobile phone, because it is easy to carry. And we also personally feel that carrying information is much more easier than getting it from somewhere else. So I do carry the mobile phone. So which makes your computing device a huge, what I say, a very likely target for these attackers. These computing device not only just store your information or store your data, but with these all the artificial intelligence and machine learning coming in, they are able to generate data about you also. They are having the capability of not just storing but also generating information about you. Such huge amounts of information being available online has made it a easy target for the attackers and also a very profitable one. Now you might ask me why? What do they get? The first and foremost thing that motivates a hacker is money. Everything is money. So here, any hacker that is going to try or that is going to attack your information is after your money. After getting the money, the most and the worst attack is if they steal your identity. You might ask me, "Hey, okay, fine. If they steal my identity, why should I be bothered?" That is one which you should be bothered. Imagine if someone goes to a bank, opens an account on your name, and runs huge amount of debt, and the bank comes to your house, takes you and locks you up. You say, no, I'm not, I don't have anything to do with this. No, you must have, everybody must have seen on movies, on TV shows, or even web series where this particular thing, where one's identity is stolen, it creates huge number of problems, not just financial loss, reputation loss, credibility loss, all those things. So first thing is your money, and after your money they can actually steal your identity, and they can use it in many ways they want. You can take voting fraud, you can take medical fraud, you can take a financial fraud, you can do anything once you have that information with you. And one of the most other challenging aspects is when you're a professional working on corporate sector or even government sector, if somebody steals your credentials, they actually get that particular access where otherwise it would be completely impossible for them to get it. So because your credentials are the one which actually allow you to enter into the network, if they somehow they trick you or they steal that particular information, that is most valuable than just stealing 100 rupees or 200 rupees from your pocket. The bottom line is, if you have anything of value, the criminals will want it. They know how to make money out of it. So each and every bit of the personal data is quite important and it should be safeguarded. Now let's talk about organization data. Now once you might lose the credentials, and if somebody accesses the data of your organization, you just take a small example of somebody taking my credentials and entering into my college account. I do have the authority to change the marks, internal marks. I can actually look at the students' records, parents' information, parents' financial information. All that information is available to me because of my credentials. Now, if someone steals it and enters into the network posing as me, what happens? The organization is losing credibility. Usually, the organization has got two types of data. The first thing is straightforward, traditional data. That means the personal information about us, about the employees, the intellectual data, and the financial things might be salaries or might be anything related to financial. That is called as traditional data. Whereas the other things are like your with the advent of internet, IoT, and big data, there is huge amounts of data being flown in. With the velocity, volume, and variety of the data being generated by the IoT, it is now paramount that we have to put security practices into play to make sure that this data is safeguarded. As I said, if the organization's data is lost, it can be tarnished in many ways and lose its reputation. We'll talk about that. Now, as I said, safeguarding the information. Safeguarding the information, I've been repeating this. But what is meant by safeguarding the information? What do you do? Actually, there are three common terms in security. We also call it as a CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. To put it in simpler terms, let me take a small example and then we will discuss about it. So if I am the sender and if you are the receiver, if I send some information to you, my requirement is that only you and me should be able to read the data. It should only be visible or understandable to both you and me, but not to somebody else who is sitting in the middle. That is called as confidentiality. I want the data to be read by only the authorized individuals. That is called as confidentiality. Privacy, we have to ensure the privacy of the data. The second one called as integrity. It means that when I send some information to you, it has to be ensured that this information is not altered. If a third person sitting in the middle changes the information that I sent to you, like let us say that if I request you maybe 10,000 rupees, and if someone sits in the middle, adds a zero to it or removes a zero from it, then that information is no longer accurate. The integrity is broken. So integrity is a term which ensures that the information is accurate and trustworthy. In other terms, any unwanted alterations to the data should not be permitted. That is called as integrity. Confidentiality ensures you privacy, that nobody should be able to read it other than you and me, or the sender and the receiver. The third term, called as availability, it ensures that that information is accessible to the authorized people. When I send the data to you, you should be in a position to receive it. If you are an authorized person, you should be able to receive the data. Then do whatever you want. That is called as availability. So confidentiality, how do you ensure it? We have to ensure the privacy of the data, and the commonmost technique that we use for confidentiality is encryption and authentication. So encryption is used on your mobile phones and each and everywhere. Even your emails are encrypted, your WhatsApp messages are encrypted, so that if any person sits in the middle and tries to get hold of the information, they will not be able to understand anything about it. It's all encrypted. Only the sender and the receiver will have the subsequent keys to decrypt that information and read it out. The next thing is called as integrity. As I told you, integrity deals with the accuracy of the information, consistency and trustworthiness of the data. We have to make sure that the data will not be altered during transmit. And there are the mechanisms that we use to ensure the integrity are the message authentication codes, MAC codes, and hash algorithms that we use. The last one is called as availability. As I told you, any authorized user should be able to receive the message, or the information should be accessible to the authorized people. The common attacks on availability is the denial of service attack, and also we have another one called as distributed denial of service attack, DOS attack or DDoS attack. So these two attacks, you might have come across different kinds of captchas or click on the images. All these things are there to ensure that this DDoS attacks does not happen. That is called as availability. Availability means we have to make sure that the equipment or the infrastructure, whatever the service is, should be readily available to the user whenever they need to use it. User here means an authorized user, not for everyone. Okay, so these are the three terms. We call it as CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, as you can say that no system is 100% secure. The job of the professional is very tough when you compare it with an attacker. The professional has to make sure that each and every loophole is covered, each and everything is safeguarded. For an attacker, if we can find one vulnerability or one loophole in the system, that's enough to cause a breach. So every day in security, they feel that a security breach is just round the corner. So it is inevitable that a security breach might happen. So once the security breach happens, what is the consequence? What happens? As I told you, it can lead to many things. These are the list of the things that might happen, or those are the direct consequences of a security breach. The first thing is ruined reputation. Obviously, if something is lost, once again, as I told you in my example, if somebody alters the marks or alters the financial data of the parents or whatever it is by using my name, obviously it reflects very poorly onto my college. My college has to take the blame for not properly safeguarding my information or safeguarding the information that is given by their students. So the reputation is ruined. Second thing is vandalism. So vandalism here across what says is, sometimes you must have come across the websites or the news that some terrorist groups have hacked a website and put some insane results, insane insults onto the website, cursing somebody, or simply putting their agendas, or all those things comes under vandalism. And the third one is a direct theft. So if somebody does a security breach, steals all the information from your particular website or from your servers, it actually automatically leads to revenue loss and also damaged intellectual properties. So these are the different consequences of a security breach. Security breach can happen, and we have to take steps to ensure that even if a security breach happens, it should be limited. The impact of a security breach should not be vast. So these are all the different types of consequences or the kind of impact that can have. As a security professional, you have to think and you have to plan accordingly in such a way that even though a breach happens, that security breach, the impact of that security breach should not be vast or should not be huge. So let me go to the next thing where we discuss about who are these attackers and who are the cybersecurity professionals. The first thing is, let us talk about the profile of a cyber attacker. So attackers are all human beings. They just look alike. They just look like you and me. They don't have different number of hands or different number of heads. No, they're all human beings. So here, these attackers means it might be a single individual or a group of individuals. There's who attempt to exploit the vulnerability for personal or financial gain. As I told you, they're interested in everything. Anything with value. If you got anything with value, they're interested. They want to put their hands on it. So let us discuss about these categories of these attackers. The first category are called as amateurs. We mostly call them as script kiddies. These people, they just like to play, have some fun with hacking. They might search on the internet, download maybe one or two tools that are easy to hack, and they want to just try it on the different websites. Usually our college website gets a lot of these kind of attacks every on a day-to-day basis. These are amateurs. They don't have one purpose, or they are not much motivated by financial gain, but it's more like fun to them. They just want to they just want to get the feel of hacking. These are called as amateurs or script kiddies. Whereas the second group are the hackers. In hackers, these are actually hackers which break into the computers or even networks to gain access. We have three different types of hackers. The first one are white hat hackers, good people. These people generally break into the network or computer systems to discover weaknesses so that those weaknesses are removed. They can be strengthened up, that the security can be improved so that nobody else can attack the same way. Those are white hat hackers. The second one are the black hat hackers. These guys are the bad guys. Simply they take advantage of the vulnerabilities for their own personal gain, and they can employ different types of illegal means to maximize their gains. It can be either financial gain, political gain, anything. Whereas the third category are called as the gray hat hackers. These guys, as the name itself tells you, it's a bit of a gray area. They can either go or they can go bad. They can go good or they can go bad. They might find a vulnerability in the system. They might call up the administrator and say, "Hey guys, you got an vulnerability, so please patch it up." Or they might look at the vulnerability and see if they can make good money out of it. They might go for it. So these are the gray hat hackers. Imagine that white hat hackers are the good guys, where they discover the vulnerabilities and they patch it up before somebody else can take advantage of it. Black hat hackers are the guys, once again, once they find the vulnerability, they will try to use it for their own personal gains. Whereas the last one, the gray hat hackers, they might report the vulnerability or they might use it for their personal use. So next party or the next type of these cyber attackers are called organized hackers. Once again, these organized hackers are like, we can call them as hacktivists, terrorists, and state-sponsored hackers. Hacktivists are always, how do I say, they are very much motivated through political gains or political issues. So usually These activists, what they do is they do these attacks to create awareness among their personal or their political agenda. They want to make some political statements. So they do hack and they do vandalize different websites, citing their agenda on their websites, all those kind of things. They are called as activists. Whereas you know much about terrorists, these guys are the usually you might think how can you say that a terrorist is a cyber attacker, but no, these terrorists are also very highly educated people. They know how to do all these hackings and everything. You can check out all the latest web series where even the uh, terrorists shown there also are very quite good at working on computers, quite good at attacking the systems. They do have a hacker with them at each and everything. Or check out the web series or even the movies where you can see all these things. Every bad person portrayed in the movie do have a hacking side to them. The last one is the state-sponsored hackers. These are the guys which are actually backed up by their governments, or they work on the behalf of the government. They particularly sabotage the systems, or they gather intelligence by hacking. They gather all that information by hacking the websites. Their goals are very much specific, and they're trained to do what they're expected to do by the government. If the government tells them this is one which we want, and they will go do it. These guys are just not, they don't have one individual, they have a group of individuals working together. These are called as state-sponsored attackers. So after that, this is one just a demographic which I collected from the internet, which gives you very good information. As I told you, usually the most motivating factor for a attacker or a hacker is having the fun and thrill of it, and then the financial gain and other things comes later. They told you spy hackers, cyber terrorists, state-sponsored hackers, script kiddies, gray hat hackers, black hat hackers, all these things. Now, once again, if we come to the place where, after talking about the different types of attackers, what do you mean by a threat? Usually, threats are, I can say that, both internal and external. Now, let's talk about internal security threats. That means if a particular person who belongs to that organization, who is otherwise an authorized user, they can actually do it accidentally or intentionally. We can also call it as a gruntled employee, ex-employee. So disgruntled as an ex-employee, you can say that if you are having some personal hatred towards some particular person of an organization, you can do this because you being an authorized individual, you will have direct access to the network and security infrastructure. Now, as I said, these things, the internal security threats are some of the most serious ones which you have to take care of. From external threats, we have different things that we can keep or try to keep in place to make sure that these things do not happen. But internal security threats, they're very difficult to handle. So these are the things. Let's say that you can mishandle confidential data. You can accidentally place it somewhere else. You can actually, by downloading some malicious software, or if you want to do some piracy kind of things, all those things do damage the network infrastructure. So all those things can be covered as internal threats. So if you are going to click an email, or if you are going to visit a website which you know that it does contain virus, your policies or your organization's policies prevent you to go to those websites and opening them, but you always find a means. So all those threats we call as internal security threats. And as I said, these internal security threats have the potential to cause greater damage than external threats, because these threats are coming from the guys which have direct access and which are authorized. They are authenticated. They are authorized users to use the systems. They should know well to keep away from such things. And the external security threats, as I told you, they can come from skilled attackers or script kiddies or amateurs who try to exploit some vulnerabilities in the network and then try to gain access from that vulnerability to maximize their gains. So this is regarding your internal and external threats. There are obviously legal issues in cybersecurity. As I told you, the legal issues once again come from personal level, corporate level, and then international level. On a personal level, you should know well that whatever actions you are going to take in this particular security domain should be legal. You can't do You can't start doing illegal things in the name of security. Even in the corporate thing, you will, each and every corporate office or corporate organization does have a legal department in the or legal department separately or as a part of your HR department, where they can actually give you a clarity about the kind of things that they do. It's a very common practice. It's not nothing new. It's been from ages. So these guys now know about the cybersecurity law also. If you are doing some copyright act or these, those are all comes under cybersecurity. If somebody is trying to go into a trying to access something else, a confidential information, if you are an authorized user and if you're trying to access confidential information that you are not supposed to see, that also comes under a legal issue. There is also international one, the international multilateral partnership against cyber threats impact. It is the first international public-private partnership that is focused on cyber threats. You can actually check it out on Google also. So these are the different legal and ethical legal issues. Coming to the ethical side, once again, it's on your personal ethics and also corporate ethics. This is a small example given by Cisco, something called as an ethics decision tree. Here, what it says is if you want to do some action, first you say, is it legal or not? No, then just quit it. Does this comply with the security policy or not? Does this reflect your organization's values and culture? Does it affect any company stakeholders? Does it have an impact on the confidentiality of the information? All those things need to be asked. And if all your answers are okay, then you can decide to perform this action. At any point, if you are unsure that whether the action that is being done by you is legal or not, go and you have to consult the legal team of the organization to get more information about it. So this is called as an decision tree, but it's more like personal ethics. If you know it is bad, why do it? You should never try to do it. You know that it is legal, it is illegal. You're better off refraining from doing such actions, because those actions, those things will have consequences. And then we'll talk about the cyber warfare. As we are talking about state-sponsored hackers, or the cyber warfare is an internet-based conflict. I believe that gone are those days where people used to carry thousands and thousands of troops into the battle with a huge amount of ammunition, take aim, shoot, bombs. None of those things are going to happen in the future. With a keystroke, with simple small pieces of code, you can actually ruin an entire nation's infrastructure. Imagine that if some hackers from a country try to acquire the control of a power grid and keep us out of power for at least 7 to 10 days, what happens? Do you think all the systems do work? Nope. Imagine there will be no charging coming on your mobile phones, no internet, nothing. What happens? The actual nation loses its reputation. Would you vote for the such people who made it happen? Nope. So cyber warfare is like, this involves which is based on internet. It involves the penetration of computer systems and networks of other nations to do harm. So these are who does this? Usually the state-sponsored attackers or the state-sponsored hackers who are quite good at doing this. They know the vulnerabilities. They know which websites to attack. They know where the critical infrastructure of the nation is, and they can go and disrupt it. Imagine if they get hold of a dam and open the floodgates of the dam to the maximum level. What happens? If you're you will be unprepared. What happens? So imagine there are a lot of things that can happen. So if they can take control of the air traffic and they shut down the entire air corridor of the country, it becomes a very big headache. And one of the classical examples of such a cyber warfare is the Stuxnet malware, which is specifically designed to damage Iran's nuclear enrichment plant. Check it on Google. There are vast number of stories involving it. One of the story was said that virus infected pen drives were given as gifts to the scientists, and they unintentionally went into the plant and plugged those USB drives in, and this Stuxnet malware actually crept into the system through that way. But they're all rumors and theories and hypotheses. The main purpose of the cyber warfare is to gain advantage over their adversaries, whether they are nations or competitors, doesn't matter. So you have to keep in mind that, as I said, just industrial espionage, militaristic espionage, keeping those two things aside, cyber war can sabotage the infrastructure of other nations, and also can cost lives. It can simply destabilize a nation, disrupt the commerce, and affect the citizens' faith in their government without ever physically invading the targeted nation. No bullets are fired, no bloodshed, but a nation loses everything. So cyber warfare will be the future of warfare, and we have to make sure that this does not impact it. I am personally against war. So let's come to the end of our chapter. So what we learn in this chapter, simply put, we try to define what you mean by personal data, what are the different characteristics, and what is the value of personal data. What do you mean by an organizational data? What are the different types of organizational data? And we also studied about if a security breach happens, what will be the type of impact it will have, who are the different types of attackers, what motivates an attacker, how you can characterize an attacker. And also then we came across the legal issues, ethical issues, and finally we spoke about cyber warfare. What is the purpose of cyber warfare, how it can be done, and how it can completely destabilize a nation. So with that, we have come to the end of this particular chapter 1, where we discussed about, as I said in the start, the need for cybersecurity. So thank you everyone, and we will continue doing this in the next chapter in our next video. So thank you and good luck.